yours.
Yeah.
So joining me here is Jim Atchison with Lickin Flames, and we can very nicely see the lickinflames.com banner up there, so people already know where they can find you, and we can see some of your product. There we go, lickinflames.com on the shirt. And so we can already see some of your products there on the shelf. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you make?
What I cause is trouble.
Yeah, well, there we go. We could say you make trouble. That's fine.
Yeah, I want to tell you, I have 2 sets of shirts with this logo on them. And I got them from a company back east. If anyone wants to know where I got them, they're really cheap. These are like $8, something like that. They're embroidered. But what I figured out was that the other ones are t-shirts. Okay. Typically that's underwear. With my logo on them, they become a business deduction.
There you go.
So I'm deducting my underwear.
Okay. All right. So we want to talk about what's on that shelf back there, maybe?
Maybe a little bit. Not really. I want to talk about what makes what we do at Lickin Flames. Lickin Flames is actually, Lickin Flames is a brand. It's part of a bigger, a longer timeline because I've been doing this for 47 years. Mm-hmm. So the longer timeline has always been under the umbrella of High Prairie Pottery. High Prairie is the name of a road near where I was born in Central Oregon. Little tiny burb. You know, they have like 50 people in town now. It's been burned a couple times, but there still is a High Prairie. So I named it years and years, 47 years ago, I named it High Prairie Pottery. And about 5 or 6 years ago, one of Brenda's friends at one of her knit nights said, you know, Jim could make a yarn bowl. And so Brenda came home. She said, they think you can make a yarn bowl. And I asked, well, what's that? Google. And I went, oh yeah, I can do that. So I made some, sent them back to the ladies over in Marin. And they said, no. Make this, make that, change this, change that. That went on for 6 or 7 months until we came up with the current shape that we still make for 5 or 6 years. And it seems to work really well. We've shipped these things all over the world, literally. We make only about 500 or so a year. So they're not, in everybody's shop, and you'll see why in a second. But we are known for our post-kiln manipulation. So we take a pot out of the kiln when it's glowing. These things are like 1,200, 1,300, down to about 800 degrees, and then I can't do anything more to them. So they're really hot. I wear gloves. I have a mask. I have, all that kind of stuff's happening. But we change either the look by burning carbon into it in a couple different ways, or we manipulate the actual surface of the glaze by changing the amount of oxygen that is in the environment around it. It's called reduction. So I take the pot out of the kiln, put it in a can, start a fire, drives out all the oxygen, cap it, no oxygen in there, and it changes the color of the pot. And that is typically what we call raku, right? So most people would know raku to be looking something like that, kind of crazy colors. Now the difference between this raku and what you would see commercially in the $500 and $600 and $700 pieces is that this is actually a glaze. Whereas usually when you see these colors on raku, it's just reduced copper carbonate. And now it's copper oxide when you reduce it. But then it will fade into green. So you buy this beautiful piece, and 5 or 6 years later, it's just a pasty green. But this won't do that because this is actually a glaze. So it's in a glaze matrix. But that's our most common of what we do, manipulations out of the kiln. Another way is we'll apply a carbon to the pot. And we apply a lot of our carbon with feathers. In this case, we use a turkey feather. The closer the thing looks to a real feather, like you'll see there's a real feather. You can tell that's a feather. I probably burned myself when I did that because you have to get real close to the pot. And I literally drag my fingernail over them when I'm doing that, and I drop some on the inside. But we call this carbon painting because I'm actually manipulating the direction that the carbon is flowing. This is white, and this is not, because I'm manipulating it.
So are they still in that 1,200 to 800 degree range while you're doing this feather technique?
Yes.
That is impressive.
It's burning. Yeah, you think about it. It's like burning hair. Stinks bad. It's like I should have a little whoopee bag next to me because it's pretty nasty stuff. And of course, I don't fire that much this time of year because of the optics of fire country.
Right.
It's not really dangerous, but
there's enough smoke up there already.
Yeah, it would be like living in the middle of the Amazon and cutting trees. Really? Yeah. You wouldn't do that. The optics are bad. Here's another form of carbon painting, but we call this, well, it's not called, we didn't call it. It's called Obvara, O-B-V-A-R-A. All of this stuff is on our website, lickinflames.com, and you can learn more about this. But this technique was developed in the Baltic area, wherever they did black bread and rye. It's a mixture of flour, water, sugar, and yeast, like a thin pancake batter. And I dip the hot pot in. I get it up to 1,600 degrees will get you black. 1,200 degrees get you brown. Someplace in between, you get blacks and browns. We are known for this technique here. We only know of about 6 people in the world that can do that. And probably only 5 of those know how it was done or why it did it. But, I've written articles about this. It's really fun to do, but I dip it in that mixture for probably no more than 5 seconds at the most. When I do workshops, I tell the people I am going to scream at you to move faster. Don't take it personal, but I do. I scream at them, faster, faster, because it's so fast. It's just boom, boom, it's out of there. And it develops after it comes out of that goo. Because in order to create carbon, you have to have some degree of oxygen to create the burning effect. Otherwise, if you just stick it in the goo and let it cool, it'll come out kind of a mushy brown. And if I said it was kind of like a baby diaper, Roy understands that one.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah, with a 40.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking. You know the color I'm talking about, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really an awful color for all parents. It's like, but that's what'll happen because there's no oxygen involved. And I've had people, experts, they say, you know, with doctorates in ceramics and master's degrees and MB, you know, all that MFAs and all that stuff, tell me that no, it has to do with the yeast and the sugar. No, it's about gluten development. All these patterned areas are where the gluten stuck to the pot and won't allow the flour to catch hold and carbonize into the clay.
So it looks very smooth. Is it textured then if the gluten is grabbing on, or is it smooth?
It's smooth. What you would actually feel is the clay itself. You're feeling, well, the clay covered by, I put acrylic on it so that, and I try to get a dull acrylic, but I put acrylic on it so it can be cleaned easier. But you can actually use it. It was developed, once it was developed, they used it for utensils on the table. And it predates, it's medieval. It's a 400 or 500-year-old technique. It predates glazing in Europe. So all that stuff in Germany and England and all that, this predates that by a couple hundred years.
Wow.
So it's right after they would use wooden plates. So, hey, and you know, before I got a couple of other things I want to talk about, but before I do, I want to thank you guys for doing this. I know it's a lot of work to do these virtual things, and you're only halfway through. Bad news, you're only halfway through, but I really appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate the effort, and I think afterwards you're probably going to, you know, have a debriefing and figure out how to improve it. But I can see us doing this in parallel to the face-to-face shows because it expands our reach quite a bit. And
I agree.
I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, well, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I think that part of this is to get people to know you as a person and as a business and as a business owner a little bit more, just like if they were, you know, stepping into your booth.
Yeah, this is the same booth setup that we use at all of our shows. Same table, same back. Well, it's not the same because we have another setup. This is a new setup. We used to call my mudroom, I now call it the mudroom. We used to call that the studio. And then the room that's next to me is the workshop. But now I'm sitting in the studio. And the old studio, we are calling it the mudroom now because we've had to do so much virtual pivot that we've set this up, and we have 9 cameras and you know, a switcher, and you know, I have fancy dancy lighting, and I've got another photo room that's got fancier dancier lighting in it, and I love my iPhone. It's multiple.
Yeah, that's something that all of us have had to, as vendors have had to think
Yeah.
about, where before, Facebook Live wasn't really a big thing, and doing these Zoom sessions wasn't a really big thing, but 2020
No.
has really made us think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, it's
So
changed quite a bit.
yeah, so
So
we've got about
anyway,
5 minutes left, Jim. If there's
okay, I've
something
got,
else you
huh?
want to highlight
Oh
or,
yeah.
talk.
Well, I want to highlight some special things that are coming up and that are happening. All right.
Yeah.
So today, for the rest of the week until next Saturday, we're doing off our website. We're doing 15% off our website. And this is the only place they're going to find this is right now on Lambtown. I'm not putting this on Facebook. I'm not putting this in, Insta or Twitter, nothing like that. 15% off if they use the code word Spitfire. One word, Spitfire. Spitfire is a code word we use for my granddaughter.
I love the personal touch. That's awesome.
Yeah, Spitfire. And if you see pictures of her on Facebook, you'll go, yeah, you understand that one. We're also doing a deal, just this, that if you put new lamb and your order is over $50, you're going to get a new lamb. And I'll show you what that is because I developed a new lamb just for Lambtown this year.
Oh,
and,
all right.
He's running lamb.
Yes.
He's got to take care of this and he'll run faster. But if he could reduce this, then he'd be able to run faster.
Yeah,
right?
I got one of those too. I could run faster if I didn't have that either.
Yeah, I could run faster if I was not incapable of it. I can't even jump. Yeah, I didn't play basketball, no sports because of that. And then the last thing is on the 17th of this month, we're doing a seconds and discontinued sale. And we haven't done one of these. We've been up here at this new mudroom for 5 years, and we have just accumulated all the extra stuff that we haven't, like a purple that wasn't quite the right purple in development, and we might have one of them. And the reds, the grays, and all those kinds of things that we've been in development, those are all in there. And pieces that we're not going to make anymore are in there because if they don't fit on our catalog, why do we keep them? So on the 17th at 2:00 is Saturday. It's a live Facebook thing. And there will be no local sales. So it's not going to be cherry picked by anybody. That's on the 17th.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, do you happen to have any of COVID Man with you, or should I send people to the website to see him?
They can go to the website, but I do actually have an example of COVID Man. He has more hair than I do, but you can tell he hasn't been to the barber, and neither have I since February, before Stitches West. That was the last time I was at the barber. You don't think I'd pay for this, do you?
Yeah, and we did have a couple people who commented on how beautiful your booth is and how they love seeing you at Stitches West. And Yvonne says that you have beautiful shawl pins as well. She loves to see those.
Yeah, those are over here, but we're not going to be talking about those. I mean, you can see them on the website. Everything on the website. I don't do make to order. So if it's on the website, it's live and it's going out like the next day or the day after that. But this is COVID Man. And what's cool about COVID Man is when you kill the air plant, which no one's supposed to be able to do, and that dies, then you take your stash and you make your own. Refrigerator magnet. It's on the refrigerator. So it's pretty cool. We do all kinds of fun things. And then just to make it interesting, if somebody was to buy a yarn bowl, they get one of these. Who says pigs can't fly? Welcome to 2020.
I'm a little slow on the uptake. I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you work in wood. I work in clay. That's why. If you worked in clay, you'd have to be, potters are not too bright, but we're not stupid. We're just not.
That is a perfect way to end it. I like that quote.
Thank you very much.
So lickinflames.com. You are also on social media, on Instagram, I believe, at Lickin Flames.
Yeah, Lickin Flames on Instagram, Lickin Flames on Facebook too. You can find us through that. And then
all right.
You can always look if you want to see the odd bent of stuff, which I don't like everybody to see. You can always just go to Jim Atchison on Facebook too.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thanks, Jim. You have a great rest of your weekend. Great Lambtown Festival. We appreciate you joining us.
All right. You take care now.
All right, you too.